Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm. Finally, a podcast about movies. Every Monday, I'm joined by famous artist Danny Haas.
I think I audibly said, "Excuse me," when that dog ran up.
And writer-poet Protolexis.
Jeff Goldblum, how about him looking like he weighs like 85 pounds soaking wet? Like you slapped that guy, he would have broken half.
And together as friends and film lovers forever, we discuss recently watched movies. Later in this very episode, we're discussing the horror classic from 1978, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Does this remake hold up after all these years? Find out right now. Enjoy. We got to talk about Twilight.
Oh my God.
The Patreon is, we're doing a special exclusive episode for our patrons, and we put it to a vote. The patrons voted to get a top three. The top three, as mentioned last week, Matrix versus The Thing versus Twilight. And there was like an uprising in the Discord this week. You can join the Discord at our Patreon. I just want to update the votes right now. There was some late pushing from Ian and Kiwi, former guest hosts on the show. 48% of the vote, Twilight is in the lead. The Thing is at 42%.
My God.
Proto, what's your state of mind right now?
For this Patreon episode? Well, I haven't really gotten there yet until what it would actually feel like to watch Twilight. I've been wrapped up in the excitement of the votes, the back and forth, the, under the table deals that have been going on, the backstabbing, the betrayals. It's really, it's very dark times, but very exciting times, especially when I can just sit back and watch. But, it's starting to sink in that, I'll have to watch this movie, and that could be bad for me.
I'm going to do something that I've never done before right now, and I'm going to play a voicemail that we got. Specifically
Excuse
related.
me.
This has never been done.
Excuse me.
I don't want to wait for an entire show for this voicemail, so I'm going to play it right now.
Good evening, everyone. This is former producer and first-time caller, long-time listener Ian, with a message for all the beautiful citizens of VHS Village. We are on the cusp of the biggest election of our lifetime. The selection of the third Patreon exclusive episode. On behalf of the Cullen Crats, I am making an earnest and heartfelt request, nay, plea to the villagers listening, to vote not for the third-party candidate known as The Matrix, or the movie we all know our loving host will cover anyway, known as The Thing, but a bold, revolutionary vote for a movie that captured the hearts and minds of the world of literature and film. A movie that launched the careers of indie darlings and future Batmans like Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. A movie so full of hope, heart, passion, glitter, and baseball that it could only be known as Twilight. So please, when you're casting those ballots, think of the future of this podcast, think of the future of this village, and think of Team Edward and Team Jacob. Thank you for your time, and God bless VHS Village.
Amazing.
There's like 10 more seconds
God,
of
let
this.
it play out.
Let freedom ring.
It's like Poltergeist. It goes without saying that the Discord is not happy with that voicemail. There's a lot of barfing quotes going on. Quotey fingers happening in live chat. So if you want this to change, or if you want to confirm Twilight,
get
to patreon.com/70mm. We'll have a link in the episode notes. I just wanted to put that out there. Ian's setting the stage. The deadline for voting will be Thursday, October 22nd. You have until the 22nd of October to make the most important voting decision of your life when it comes to podcast movies. We have a lot to get to. This feature presentation is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, starring one of the most attractive men on the planet, Donald Sutherland,
Leonard
and those
Nimoy.
sweaters. A lot of attractive men in this movie. Jeff Goldblum. We will get into that at the bottom of the hour. Before we do that, Pro, did you watch any movies this week?
I did watch some movies. Two very important movies on my watch list. First, I completed my George Romero
Oh, baby.
Dead viewing. I had watched Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. I watched Day of the Dead this week. I gave it 3 stars. I liked it more than Dawn of the Dead. The effects in this are off the charts. The zombies look so much better in this. There's much more gore.
Love
But yeah, you gotta love gore. Just, intestines falling to the
Ew.
floor. Lots of them. Yeah. A lot of fun. The story didn't really struck me. I feel like they could have put some more work into it. It could have been more interesting. But it is what it is. So I had fun with that. I'm glad I watched the 3 of them, this October.
Mm-hmm.
Good times.
Nice.
Good times. Then it had to be done. I went and watched The Exorcist for the first time.
Oh, no.
I have a confession to make about this movie. I wrote this in my review.
Here it comes.
All I knew about this movie was the poster. Okay.
Good poster.
And from what it's Max von Sydow, his silhouette on the street.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it before.
Yeah.
There's a light hitting him. It looks, it's black and white. I thought this movie was black and white from the 50s. I had no idea what was going on in this movie. Yeah, this opens up. It's in color. I was surprised. This is not what I expected, but it was.
How many film nerds are
cool.
listening right
They're
now
pissed.
and throwing their phone in the river at that?
Hold on.
We're not done yet.
Yeah. I gave The Exorcist 3 stars. So it was a good movie. And I know I got a little bit of backlash immediately for that. But I felt like this was a good opportunity to talk about, what makes a movie a classic. Some things, I know when things come out, they can be a breakthrough, something you've never seen before. But I don't know if that necessarily makes it a classic, because a classic is something that is timeless. And, no matter when you watch it, it's always a classic. We never say that about books. Like a book can be 300 years old and still you read it and it's amazing. Now, of course, that's a different medium, but I think it can be true for movies as well. Like something can do something for the first time, but that doesn't make it a classic immediately, forever. The story still has to hold weight and still be amazing. And for me, like The Exorcist just doesn't do that. Like it was compelling, but it didn't wow me. Max von Sydow, what a performance. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. Really impressed with what he did in this movie.
Stupid.
It's not even, listen, everyone listening right now is throbbing at the chance to strangle Proto. We're not going to engage with him at this juncture. There's too much show for us to debate Proto on his Exorcist thoughts. We don't have that kind of energy to expense. Max von Sydow, as everyone remembers, he was a vision in at explaining to people how to crap their own pants. One of the best scenes in that movie, and I presume one of the best parts of the book, but we'll never know. I'm not reading that. Caleb in Discord is saying that Proto might be possessed right now to give that movie 3 stars. Not to let Danny off the hook, he has that at 3.5 stars. But again, we don't have the time to dig in any further on that topic. Any other movies, Proto, or was that your capper?
I watched Frankenweenie as well, and I gave that 4 stars. So there you go. Maybe Tim Burton's best movie.
Man,
stupid.
He's swinging for the fences already in this episode. We're 9 minutes in. Frankenweenie, I gave 5 stars. I watched that this week too. 30 minutes on Disney Plus.
Wow.
Get it.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the other Frankenweenie, the animated stop motion.
Really? 5
Excuse
stars for
me.
that one. Oh my goodness.
4 stars. Are you listening right now?
Confused. I'm in the fog of the Exorcist proto haze right now.
Get your
I'm
weenies
trying to find my
together.
way out. Too many weenies. Danny, what did you watch?
So I rounded out my Ghostbusters. I watched the second one for the first time. I gave it a heart.
You didn't leave a rating though.
I gave it a heart. It was good. It's exactly what I expected after watching the first one. And then I think we could probably talk about this movie, Matt, together. You had watched a movie called Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater. And as I look at my Letterboxd, that movie is sticking out to me because I enjoyed that movie quite a bit. I'm so glad you had watched it. Someone else in our Slack, I think, had brought it up, and it came up again, and you watched it. I don't know. Somehow,
Thief, friend of the
Christian
show.
Slater in that movie is amazing. I wanted to like be in that movie. I wanted to be in that revolution in that high school as all that was happening.
Generation Why Bother?
Like I really enjoyed that movie.
He's so good in that movie. Every time I see him in a movie, I think, is he not related to Jack Nicholson? Is he just doing a Jack Nicholson impression in every movie he's in?
He probably has a good one too.
He just talks normally.
There's
that's
not many
that's how he does
Slater
his
movies that or any stuff that I really enjoy of him that I can be like, man, Slater's amazing. But this one kind of did it for me. I haven't seen True Romance, which I think a lot of people talk about with him. But man, I love Pump Up the Volume. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, it's Hard Harry on the pirate radio waves. Christian Slater.
It was it was you. It was you basically in that movie. I was very excited.
I really enjoyed Pump Up the Volume. I was shocked at how much it held up because I watched a few other 80s Christian Slater movies, like Gleaming the Cube. I thought that was just a steaming diaper of a movie. That's on Amazon Prime at like sub SD quality.
Let's see. Chronicles of Narnia, Voyage of the Dawn Treader popped up on Disney Plus this week, and we watched it with one of our daughters. It's good. Had no idea I guess Disney didn't make it. I think it was Fox. It was good. And then today I watched the original 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and we can talk about comparisons later.
Sneaking it in before recording time. Wow.
You know?
Unbelievable. We talked about Letterboxd. We talked about Danny not giving a rating for Ghostbusters. He knows what he's doing. What he's got at play. He won't give that a rating to appease certain people. But we follow each other. Everyone in the Discord, we have a channel that kind of pipes in everyone's reviews and ratings for movies. And every week we give out a free year of Letterboxd Pro, which is you get some bonus features. You don't get ads. You get to sort your year in film, see like where your ratings are skewing, what your favorite movies were, and your entire life in film, however many years you've been on Letterboxd. And this week's winner, super fan, who's really been giving it her all, finally going to make it for the year of Letterboxd Pro. Mel Mendez, artist extraordinaire.
My gosh.
You did it. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Mel has been going through a lot of turbulence recently, with Twilight potentially winning out for the exclusive episode. So, Mel, enjoy that year of Letterboxd Pro.
Congrats,
Mel.
Enjoy that year of Letterboxd Pro, Mel. It's Hard Harry here. What do I want to talk about? I just rewatched for the first time since high school The Prophecy with Christopher Walken.
Oh my gosh.
That movie was an all-timer for me growing up. Christopher Walken plays Gabriel. There's a war happening in heaven, and he is battling. This is a second war between the angels. And Casey Jones, what's the actor's name who played Casey Jones in Ninja Turtles?
Oh my gosh, what is his name?
What's that guy's name? Anybody in chat know that one? Elias Koteas. Thank you, Caleb.
Jeez.
Caleb typed that out so fast.
God.
I've never seen anyone type out that kind of a weird name so fast. So he plays a guy who tried to be a priest, and at the last minute, he had these like visions of a war in heaven. So he stopped choosing to become a priest and became a cop, obviously. And there's some funky stuff happening where there's a war happening between angels who are upset at Jesus for. I feel like we have a lot of religious talk on this podcast. I don't know how it happens, but
Bless.
they're upset at Jesus for giving his love to man over the angels. And they're like bummed about it. They get souls and the angels do not. The angels don't have souls. So they come up with a scheme to do battle and overtake heaven. And Gabriel's scheme, Christopher Walken, is to find this evil soul on earth and use it to steal heaven. And at this time during this war for like thousands of years, no human being has entered heaven at this point during the war. So everyone's just kind of stuck in limbo. That's what's revealed also.
What?
There's also an amazing cameo by Viggo Mortensen. He looks like a young Jared Leto in this movie. A lot of fun watching it. It's not a great movie by any stretch, but it's just one of those movies that I loved growing up. And it's the first time I rewatched it. The special effects are trash. Jonesy Loves Beer in chat in Discord. Even now in heaven, there are angels who carry savage weapons. That was a quote from the movie. So one of the cool things is he finds a Bible with a missing or a chapter that did not exist in mainstream Bibles. He like finds this ancient one. So it's pretty cool. So that's like that was right up my alley growing up.
My God.
You know, you're watching that after mass in the shadows in your bedroom. Your parents can't see you watching The Prophecy.
You still have that cracker wafer in your mouth.
Savoring the wafer from mass.
Afraid it's going to turn to ash when you put this on.
And I might turn to ash. Holy moly. Altar Boy Slim. I was. Altar Boy of the Year, I might add. Although it was eventually changed to Altar Server.
Did you get anything?
The trophy was my love for Christ. I'm not sure if that's going to make it into the final edit.
My goodness.
It was a long time ago. I'm a different person now. But that's besides the point. We need to get into the movie. Before we do that, I do want to call out, we talked about the Discord. You can sign up on our Patreon. Thanks to Garth, Rebecca, and Sean for joining the Patreon and Discord this week. Thank you so much for the support and everyone who's bought prints and dad hats. So it's great to see. Thank you. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The Bee Snatchers, as they've been called in Discord. I'm not even sure if that's allowed in the final edit either. But Frodo, can you guide us through this sci-fi horror thriller classic?
Beyond our atmosphere, the moon, the solar system, comes an invasion. Riding the solar winds to Earth, a horde that is beyond imagination, a nightmare that is invisible, unstoppable, and by the time it is discovered, it's too late. Elizabeth notices that her boyfriend is different. Convinced that he is someone else, she confides in her friend Matthew for help. Together they seek to unravel what has changed, but with each step forward, the change begins to appear in strangers, colleagues, and friends until what was once considered paranoia is out in the streets, coming into their homes. A cosmic horror, darker than any nightmare, has enveloped our world, and there is no stopping the invasion of the Body Snatchers.
My goodness.
Get that on a shirt ASAP.
I know, right?
My goodness gracious.
You joggers.
Joggers to run away from the pod people. Oh my God. No, but seriously, can we get some joggers
We can
there?
get joggers. I got you. We'll do joggers this week.
Holy moly. One thing I do want to point out from the first 10 seconds of this movie on Prime Video that I watched, rated PG for drug use, nudity, sexuality, and violence.
That's a rated R movie right there.
Yeah.
This movie was PG?
I don't know if they had, maybe the rated R happened after 1978. I don't know, but I really had a good laugh at that.
That's good.
Wow.
Okay.
Had you ever seen any of these movies? This is a historically remade movie. There's several versions out there. But had you seen any of them or even this one beforehand?
I think I saw the most recent, which I think was called The Invasion. I think that came out
Craig
maybe
is in that too, I think, right?
maybe like 2005, somewhere in there it came out. That's the one I saw. I don't really remember anything about it. I know it doesn't have like very good reviews. So yeah, that's my only.
Did she get into a bath with a young boy, similar to Birth?
Director's cut.
Danny, how about you?
Never. Actually, I don't think I've heard about this movie until you had brought it up a while back. So no, never seen this. Never. I didn't even know they did remakes after this. I didn't know this one was a remake. So many remakes. Didn't even know it was a book. You know, I'm an idiot.
Can you even read? We'll get the intern to confirm that for us. This is, I think I had said this in a previous episode, but Amanda and I had started this, my wife, and for whatever reason, this was a long time ago, probably like 6 months ago, feels like forever ago, but we had to finish it over the course of a few weeks, and I can't remember why. So the review that I had left for it originally was kind of like, I need to rewatch this to get a really bigger picture. So this movie has like a lot of the check boxes that I love. It's a New York City movie. It's 80s, 70s. It's got some great actors that are really young in this movie. Jeff Goldblum looks like he's 18 years old in this movie.
Wait, was that New York?
I think it was New York, wasn't it?
No.
Or like a big time city.
Pretty sure those the Full House houses that we saw at one point. So.
Really? Were they in San Francisco? It looked like some of that stuff was in New York City.
It definitely gives New York City vibes, though.
It's
like the 70s NYC feel.
We need someone from Frisco to confirm that San Francisco even looked like that in the 70s. Do we have any Frisco boys or gals? But it captures like this old school city vibe of just like dirty, dingy. No one's cleaning these streets ever. There's just trash everywhere. And the rain, just the atmosphere of this movie was just so intoxicating to me. And it starts out with the amoebas and like stuff growing in this long intro, and you're introduced to Elizabeth, who's a lab scientist, and she says she talks to her boyfriend, and she says she found some new flower, and she brings it home. So that's what starts this whole thing with this group of people. How about the boyfriend sitting in front of the TV watching sports with his headphones on, and as soon as she walks in, he starts snapping his fingers at her? I would get a just karate kick to the mouth if I ever did that.
Yeah.
Total loser, this guy, right off the bat. You could tell. Just the way he was even sitting there.
Zilch. Total zilch.
Warriors fan.
If I may back up, though, to the opening of this with the space jellies hanging out. Those first few seconds, I'll be honest, I was concerned. I thought we were like in for another Star Trek the Motion Picture ordeal. Like, what's happening here? This doesn't really make much sense. This felt like something like the intern at the Twilight Zone wrote episode deal. So I was really worried with those opening shots. And then there's like this, I think they show Earth, but it's clearly just like a picture, and they're like zooming into the picture. Just like,
I'm not even sure if they had photos of Earth back then. 1978?
No, they weren't in space yet.
No way.
But as soon as it gets to Earth, I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
Take us through it. Take us through how you're feeling at the beginning of this movie.
Oh my gosh. If we just want to get right into it.
Go deep.
There are a few movies that can create a level of creepiness. And I feel like that this movie is very particular. It's not, there's like thriller aspects, there's horror, whatever, but there's like a creep level in this movie that is unnerving. And I mean, the content, of course, the story is creepy, but just the way that this was shot, there are so many these weird lingering shots with such strange sounds like focused on that create just like under your skin, you just know something's wrong from the get-go of this movie. Were you guys feeling that?
Yeah, but then there was the rat turd scene.
Yes.
And then I started laughing. And that was a great scene. I felt the same way. There's a real tone to this movie that is by itself very creepy. I agree with you, Proto. And it starts off. I mean, I like the intro with the amoebas. I thought that was gross, and yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. It has this real undertone that's super creepy to begin with.
It has the overall vibes of the thread that I have with the stuff that I liked in The Shining and some other movies of like the Nothing Burger stuff, where it's almost just like a camera is there during just random stuff that's happening between characters. Like the interactions between Donald Sutherland and the female lead, the Elizabeth character, they have like interactions that are just like, just building their relationship as like friends that are like really super close. Brooke Forrest is, thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, I got the character name. And their relationships, like there's one scene in particular that I'll probably loop in. It's just with them meeting in a car and they're driving through the city. Maybe it's New York, who knows? And they're having this conversation where he's like, have I ever told you this story before?
Did I ever tell you the one about the English Camel Corps? Did I? Mm-mm. They're trapped in the desert, in the Sahara Desert. They've been surrounded by Rommel for 40 days, and they've run out of food. And the captain comes and makes an announcement to the men. And he says, men, I have some good news for you and some bad news for you. And one of the men says...
Oh, wait, you have told me this one.
Oh. Can I tell it to you again?
And like that's the scene. Like that is just one of the greatest scenes in the entire movie. It just is such a real moment between the two characters that I couldn't help myself by grinning. And then something terrible happens right after that. But Pardo, did you feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of scenes with those two characters specifically that build that sense of relationship. But then also like there's mingled in that builds like this paranoia vibe that something else is going on. I think early on, someone's on the phone. I think it's Donald Sutherland's character, Matthew, where he's calling somebody. And when he hangs up, the phone that he has a cord that retracts into the wall. And like he hangs up and then the camera, it just shifts to like zoomed up close to the cord just going into the wall. And you just like hear the sound of it. And it's such like an odd, strange moment that like it just didn't really make any sense, but it just like adds to the whole like level of just like the vibe that this movie had. I just couldn't get over the way this movie felt from start to finish.
She has problems with her boyfriend right at the onset because she brings that plant home and the next morning she wakes up and the boyfriend is cleaning up the container, the glass container that the plant or the flower was in. And he's acting very strange. So this is where things really start to kick off. The boyfriend is wearing this amazing suit. He's not looking at her. He's just hanging out outside. He's talking to the trashmen for some reason. And she's just like so weirded out. It's almost like the way a person would act if they had a big fight the night before. And he's just ignoring her. I thought the onset, it was played off pretty well. Like he's just kind of ignoring her for some reason. We don't know why. And then this kind of just escalates and slowly Donald Sutherland's character, the health inspector, that's his job. The laundromat family is like trying to talk to him. He's like, "Oh, are you a doctor? Like my wife's acting weird." And she's like, she's not my wife. So like slowly things are percolating that something is happening in the city. And eventually she gets so weirded out that Donald Sutherland is like, all right, well, my friend, a psychiatrist is going to be in town. This like big time psychiatrist is doing a book signing. Come talk to him and we'll get this sorted out. So they go, that's where the car scene happens, I think right before then. But they go to this book signing, Goldblum's there, and they witness a car accident where this guy who was talking about how they're going to get replaced gets kind of hit by a car and he's like dead in the street. And it's really unsettling. So they go to call the police at this party. And the reason I'm kind of jumping to this scene is Jeff Goldblum is trying to talk to Donald Sutherland while he's on the phone.
Oh my gosh.
For like 3 minutes. And it's like so unnerving. They're trying to create this like sense of unease, and it's so well done.
Yes.
What's so hot about that? What's so hot about that?
You must have a report on it because there was a motorcycle officer there, and there was an ambulance on the
where I
way.
am, they follow me. They don't understand what I'm saying.
Well, ignore them. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody.
Well, that's easy for you to say. They don't
No, of
jump
course
all
I saw
over
it. No,
you.
the man
This
was
is
running down the
poison.
street.
It's
He
romantic,
was being chased by people. He landed on my car.
sentimental,
He went off my
nonsense,
car, and then he was hit by the other car.
crap,
Just
and they
a
all eat
second,
it up.
Lee. I am talking to the police. No, he was lying bleeding on the road.
What seems to be the trouble, officer?
Hello.
Don't
Yeah.
ever give your name to cops. What do you want to get on their master list?
Leavenworth and Turk.
You're like, these two, if I was Donald, I would be slapping Goldblum up the face. Like, give me 5 minutes, man. I'm trying to call about a dead
Oh my
body I
God.
saw. Danny, how did you feel about Goldblum interjecting in there? They're finally at this book signing party.
I mean, I hope you put in some audio of that because he is like I'm watching it, almost having to pause it, thinking, I don't know if my nerves can take watching this happen. Like he's just like, just shut up, Jeff. Let him make the phone call. Jeff. This whole movie though is always like he's just very on edge already. That scene is crazy though. I love it. It's well
That whole.
done.
Oh, sorry.
That party scene itself, yeah, is just great.
Yeah, that whole scene is amazing. Jeff Goldblum, how about him looking like he weighs like 85 pounds soaking wet? Like you slapped that guy, he would have broken half. But that whole party scene is so great because you can tell that like half the people are snatched.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many scenes where someone is talking and in the background, someone's just like dead eye staring straight ahead or like in the shadow and you just see their head like not moving, just standing there. Oh man. And that scene. So you just knew that room was full of invaders.
Yeah.
Snatchies. Snatchies. Yeah. So good. And now it kind of makes me curious to go back and see it again or just wonder about when Nimoy's character was taken. Because even when you know that he has, which is like a little bit further ahead, you wonder, he doesn't really change much in terms of like how he acts. So you wonder if like, did it happen much sooner? Like when he first appears, like at this book signing, was he already taken? Or like, when did that happen?
Lex in Discord says the guy that gets hit by the car is played by the same character, by the main actor from the original B Snatchers. Can you confirm that?
Oh,
Danny?
was it? I didn't.
Yeah.
He's got to be a lot older.
He was a name actor, so it would have been pretty odd to have him in that one role.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have.
Can you confirm that?
Because I didn't watch it till today. Okay, guys.
We'll get the intern on that. I'm looking
Can
at
we?
Dale through the glass, nodding at him. He knows. Leonard Nimoy, this book signing, Leonard Nimoy, he's the worst psychiatrist in human history, right? Like, what is he doing? His schemes.
Insanely bad.
I would get my
keep
money
your
back.
hands off of people. He was so handsy with that woman, like
This-
holding her down.
There are so many. This movie has more human conversations getting interrupted than any other movie I've ever seen. Like he's going back and forth with so many conversations. Every scene Nimoy is in, he's telling someone to stop talking and interrupting them. It's amazing. But looking back, I think he was a snatched.
I don't know if you can say that, Matt.
I think he was because
you can say that. God,
that was a mistake. I think he was one of the pod people at the onset because he is the worst psychiatrist in history. The woman is saying that her husband is not himself, like weeping at this party, and his plan is to have them hold hands and look at each other.
So stupid.
And he's like, "You're fine already. Look, it's your husband. He's here," and he's like pleased with himself. Like, you're worthless as a psychiatrist, Nimoy. You have nothing except for that amazing jacket.
I wonder what this would be like though for somebody in who like lived through that time period, because just anecdotally, I know there was like a lot of psychologists or psychologists at that time who had books that were like really famous that everybody was reading their books and kind of going with it. So I feel like it was kind of maybe it was grabbing onto that concept of the time. So I wonder if that like factors into this character, that he's like representative of that type of celebrity who was big.
Yeah. Chuck is saying in Discord too, I hope someone mentions the leather thing on his hand. And I do have that in my notes. What is that?
It's the coolest glove.
It looks like he's a falconer or something. And he's got like a thing that covers the back side of his hand that loops around and like attaches at his wrist. So at this point, let's see, Jack and the girl find the body. Oh yeah. So Jack, Goldblum's character, leaves kind of upset. He doesn't like Nimoy that much. He goes to this mud bath that his wife runs. This thing is disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting.
A mud bath in the middle of the city? Who is going to get a mud bath at like 1 a.m. and just stewing in mud?
I need this.
No way.
This did look like right up your alley, Proto.
Well, my question is, like, all I could think about is, do they swap out all the mud?
No.
Each time?
How?
Or are you just sharing mud? I guess you're
sharing mud. Because, but it also like, that place has got to be filthy. You climb out of a mud bath, there's mud everywhere.
It was disgusting.
It's foul. Horse manure. It's got to be in there.
This large man covered in mud gets out, and this poor woman, Jeff Goldblum's significant other, is toweling him down, and then he gets a massage while giving her a tough time the whole way through. Like this gotta be the first week this place is open, because you're not doing this every day. You're not going week.
Gosh, she was rubbing his stomach too.
Yeah,
that was Veronica Cartwright. God bless her soul.
Kind of wanted that.
Oh. So they run a mud bath business, and this is where they find Jeff Goldblum's double, because he takes a nap in one of the stalls, and she uncovers, some freakazoid alien laying under wraps, and they don't know what it is. So they actually like wake up and they're like standing next to this non-finished pod person. And that's when they start to get Nimoy involved and Donald Sutherland. There was some cool stuff in the scene though, where like Goldblum was like falling asleep again, and the pod's like nose started to bleed and its eyes opened. And then when Jeff woke up, his eyes closed. I thought there was some cool stuff happening there.
The body itself looked really cool. However, they did the makeup and texture of it, it was really gross, but it was so unsettling to look at. And then just knowing that it's like a duplicate of Jeff as well, and then his nose started bleeding. It was just, it was like milky, phlegmy, getting grossed out. It was just like this like phlegm covering him with like vines. It was really gross.
I think this is the first scene where I got a little shaky on the whole like, how is this even working part of it, because I think when you look at the movie as a whole, you come away with a lot of questions of like plot holes of like, wait, how did this even start? Why, after you watch it, you see other scenes, how the pod people are made. So this scene where Jeff's double is on the table doesn't really make any sense anymore, because you're like, well, how did it get there?
Right. They don't show it growing. It just kind of like appears.
Yeah. And there's no pod that he came out of anywhere. And then also my main question, just going back to the beginning, is like, okay, so everyone needs a pod to grow a body. Well, how did the first one start? Like, how did Jeffrey's pod? Where was Jeffrey's pod? He just had a flower next to his bed. Where did his pod come from?
I thought it came from that. It came from the underside of the flower.
Yeah, but you see later that these pods, they're like 3 feet long, 30 pounds. This is just a little flower. Like, how would he have grown out of that? Unless you're just assuming, like we just assume that's magically somehow in a course of like 8 hours of sleeping, it grows big enough to like hold him. But like that's where I kind of felt like this doesn't, they kind of just like glossed over that fact.
I had that question too watching it. And then when it gets towards the end, when the pods are being delivered, I was wondering, I thought back that I wonder if it was brought there, if someone else was in the, like, wasn't there one guy in the mud bath that was already turned? He was
Weirdo,
reading the
yeah.
book or something with that beard. I wonder if then I was like, oh, maybe somehow his pod was delivered somehow to where he would either be, I don't know. There's
Maybe one of his coworkers delivered a pod to his house that we don't see.
Mike's pointing out that the whole area was in the spot was covered with plants, though. There was a lot of plants in there. At this point in the movie, you're still unclear on who is in the group. Like, you're not really, at least on first viewing, I didn't think Nimoy was one of them, because you're probably wondering, you know, if he's a pod person, why is he helping them? And they eventually go to the house, apartment, to kind of like get away from everything. And Nimoy is there. Nimoy gives Brooke some sedatives, some sleeping pills, and Sutherland goes outside and then falls asleep on like a little chair outside. And this is where it gets really nutty. And as he's sleeping, a pod person of him and his friend starts to grow as he's, you know, sleeping. So presumably if he stays asleep, he's going to be dead. Danny, how'd you think about that scene?
It's a perfect scene. It's so perfectly creepy. When I loved, however they did the vines kind of wisping in the wind, reaching out to him and wrapping his legs or his arms. I felt like I could feel that. Like it gave me that sense of like, I can feel the brush of that vine on his hands or whatever. It's so well done. I think there's a great, like, it's very quiet. It's just a really good scene. But then when the body kind of pops out of the pod, I was just like, gag me. It was so gross. Like it was so creepy. Cause it wasn't even a formed face yet. Right. It was like this, like this forming human. It's so good. Such a good scene. Sutherland's great in it, falling asleep.
What a backyard this guy has.
Oh my
God, that view?
Kidding me?
He's got this yard. He's like in this Adirondack chair and it's just overlooking the city. How much does that cost?
What's the health
Could
inspector
you really
pull in?
afford that? Yeah, that's what I want to know.
After taxes.
I love that scene as well. Yeah, that's an amazing scene. The practical effects, like the look of the pods, them coming out, the lack of like sound in it. And you see Donald Sutherland's eyes fluttering and you keep thinking like, wake up, you have to wake up. Yeah, and just kind of like this reveal that, you know, this is how they're being made. Like they're in these giant pods. Is a great scene.
The baby, some of my notes, the baby human coming out of the plant, F me. Really disgusting. So and he eventually gets woken up. I think Nancy wakes him up and screams as loud as she can. And they wake everybody up and they pretty much get the hell out of there. They're on the run. The pod people start coming out of the streets at this point. They start doing the scream, the haunting scream.
God. Yeah.
And they're just on the run. I loved seeing just like random people coming out of the shadows, just running full force at them, knowing that they're not pod people, and they're like signaling to each other like, let's get them now. And at this point, Goldblum and his wife kind of separate. They make a plan to separate from them. I thought that scene was great too. It just all felt very real. Like these people running after them as they separate, and then the camera slowly like pans over to Matthew and Elizabeth just kind of like hiding. Like, man, you are screwed at this point. That was
like backlit shot of Jeff running down that alleyway, but then like bodies started come, like just the silhouettes of more people running after them. And yeah, that's a great shot.
This is probably just me living in like modern day, like 2020, and having seen so many movies. If I were them, I would probably just cynically say, this is everywhere. This isn't just a city. We're not getting out of here. We're done. Like their plan is to like get to the airport from here, but really that's not happening. Like if you have hordes of people running after you, you gotta just like, I don't know, swim for shore. Like I don't know what I would do at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's so great about this is that they've built it up to show you that it's hopeless at this point, because at any point earlier, between the first guy who knows something's going on, he's on the street, like he just looks like a madman. And then when Donald Sutherland's character is calling people and trying to, bring this to higher ups, the whole time you're thinking like, well, if he runs into one pod person, that person's just going to cut it right there and not continue it. And like, how would you even organize something to do anything about what's happening? There's just no stopping it at this point or at any point, because early on it's paranoia, and then later on you're too late. And at this point you just know it's hopeless. It just like that build up and how it's expressed in this movie is just so good.
Art in Discord found a quote from Nimoy saying that he got the idea from a friend who had a badly burned hand and wore the leather covering. He just wanted to make him very distinctive and recognizable. Dave says the cut from them laying there to the feet scene was very abrupt. There were a lot of abrupt cuts in this movie, but I just found them very endearing. Like this style of filmmaking, like there's so much audio that had to be recorded after the fact, because like I guess the local audio while filming was just unusable. That happened a ton in this movie. There wasn't a lot of like on location audio used, but for whatever reason I still enjoyed it. So they're trying to stay awake. I wrote this quote down from Nimoy because they interact with him. They get caught in the lab, and Nimoy says, "Don't be trapped by old concepts." I just loved hearing Nimoy kind of explain to them the whole plan. Like, we came from a dying planet. We adapt, we survive, and this is where they're kind of just going to sedate them and turn them into pod people that get caught. They eventually do escape, and one scene that I also loved is when Nancy appears. They are on the run. They see Nancy walking up the steps from them. And at this point in the movie, you're like, is she a pod person? Because she's not emoting at all. And she tells them, you just have to act fake like them. You can't show emotion. You can get through it. Just don't get caught that way. The one thing I really loved about that is she asks, they don't tell her that Jack is dead. They she's like, oh, great, we can find Jack. And like, they just don't say anything. And they're like, okay, yeah, let's go. I thought that was really powerful.
Yeah. That scene of them when they get cornered by Nimoy and Goldblum is so great. I think that like really encapsulates like one of the major themes of this, of like, this movie is like symbolic of like a lot of different things. You can apply it to a lot of different themes. Like, they say like the 50s version is like, they equate it to like communism. And to me, it's just like, in a more general sense, it's like the idea that ideas are contagious. And so like that scene, I think Jeff Goldblum's character says something along the lines is like, it's me, like all the memories, everything is here. I'm still the same person. It's just, I don't feel emotion. I'm better in some way. And I think that's, that is how it can feel with people who stand, or like if you've met somebody who has one major worldview, and then later on you talk to them and that has switched, and it can seem like as a person they have changed on a fundamental level, and it's like, this is still the same person, but there's something different about them. They're not the same person anymore. And that's like, I feel like that scene just encapsulates this, where it's like, you're saying you're the same person, but you really aren't, because something is different. And that scene is what I think nails that whole concept really well.
Mike in Discord saying, Proto describing me changing my review from 2 to 3 stars. He did it. The power of Proto compels you. Right after this, they try to act fake and go along with everything. And I'm looking to get Danny's input on one scene in particular, is when the failed pod of the dog and homeless man reappears. A dog with the face of a man barks at them and ruins the whole scheme. How did you feel?
I think I audibly said, "Excuse me," when that dog ran up. it almost took me out of it because I was so confused because it didn't make sense because I didn't understand how they could have fused the two together. And then I was just baffled from there on out because I was just like, why did he have a dog body?
Remember, because I think they ran by those two pods and they like kicked them or stepped on it and then it started bleeding, remember? And then it screwed up the whole thing.
Just, the dog. You know, it's funny. The dog scene is the, in the original movie, that's the scene. They do have a dog scene as well, which is what triggers them to come out of character faking that they're the pod people.
Oh, wow.
So it's not, I'm going to warn you, it's not a human face on a dog in that one. But it is another dog scene. I thought it was interesting. But that dog face scene, it almost took me out of the movie because I was so
it looked so real and freakish.
It was so real. It was so gross. It actually reminded me of The Thing.
That dog scene in 1978 is better than the entire special effects of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, 1979.
God,
hands down.
I thought it was amazing. I love that dog face. Oh my God. And,
am I putting that on a shirt right now?
There's a comment in Patreon. If this is the art for the episode, I'm absolutely out of this Patreon.
I actually thought when they ran by him, I thought like, well, why couldn't a pod accidentally do another like animal by mistake, instead of a human? And then like human face dog comes on the screen. Like, oh, I guess. There it is.
The other scene that I loved is where he slaps the old lady that starts screaming at him. Just obliterates her, destroys her,
wrecks her.
And that's when they are on the run again, and he sees ships where he gets this idea of like, okay, we have a chance. We can get out of here on this boat. There's a scene where they're kind of, he leaves her. And then when he comes back, he uncovers that she has been potted. There's also a scene that I forgot to mention is when they do kiss before this, where they like have this really intimate moment while hiding, and they're so close together, and they finally do give in and kiss. I thought that was really nice. But the scene where he finds her, he's like holding her as she is podifying, and there's no stopping it. They do some really cool special effects with like a string that was pretty visible on her cheek, like pulling her.
Pretty cool though.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And she crumbles and her like face just like pulls into itself in his hands. What a scene.
That was nasty.
Yeah.
I don't know what was more gross, that scene or when she breaks her ankle. The sound of when she breaks her ankle made me want to just turn the movie off.
Gosh. Just another like moment where it's beyond over for you. A broken ankle, like right now? Come on.
Yeah.
He runs and hides after this under a bridge. There's also like a 15-minute scene where he blows up one of their giant like greenhouses where they're growing these things.
With her crumbling, I felt like it was good because we finally got to see what happens to the human body, but when it gets final like turn to the pod. Because I was always wondering. I had read that it turned to ash, but not until after I saw it. But I was like, man, I really wish. I'm glad that they had shown that what happens to the body when the final like conversion happens.
They do tease that too because you always see like the trash trucks running around with like all the hair ash in them and stuff.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Proto.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
The greenhouse, the big blow up scene.
Oh yeah, that scene was kind of ridiculous. Yeah, because at that point you're like, Donald, like, what are you doing? Like you're going to stop like one warehouse here? Yeah, it's going to have like no effect.
Also, he has an axe that he uses. That scene was probably way too long. I mean, it felt like a 30-minute scene. Could have been cut. And when he's done and they're running after him, he throws the axe away. You have 30 people running after you, and you're going to throw your only weapon down to the ground?
Also, a lot of these, there's a bunch of scenes where they're running away from people, and there are people like right on their heels, and then it cuts to them like going around the corner, and then like suddenly no one is there. I think that happened on 3 different occasions for them to get away.
So the next day, he awakens. He goes to his like place of work. He goes to Elizabeth's place of work, sees her. And he's kind of standoffish. He's not really kind of like revealing his hand. He's, very unemotional. And he's walking, I think, at Washington, it looked like. Right? Was it Washington at the end of the movie, or was he just going to work?
Matt, It's in San Francisco.
I guess it could have been Washington because why would she find him in Washington?
They're in San Francisco.
We'll get the intern on that monument that I saw that looked like it was in Washington, D.C.
All monuments are in Washington, D.C. We know this.
I can't believe this took place in 3 different cities in the course of one night. But Nancy finds him, and Nancy's like, Matthew, I'm here. Like, we met up. And he turns around, points at her, and does the scream.
Oh, baby.
To reveal that he is a pod person, and that's how the movie ends. And her reaction, too, is amazing. Great actress. Also an Alien. But
that's what she was from.
She's been in a bunch of movies.
Yes, she's an alien.
A long career.
Thank you.
So that is the end of the movie. You get the famous shot, which have you shown the art yet? Has it been revealed?
It's there.
It's there?
It's there right now.
So that is the art of the week. Beautiful piece of art from Danny, which you can get in our storefront.
Nailed it.
That is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Danny, your thoughts?
It's a very, very good. I enjoyed the whole movie. I think there's probably bits that could be cut out and trimmed down and have more of a concise movie. But yeah, I think so. I watched the original today and I gave it 4.5 stars. It's 80 minutes. It's great. I think everyone should check out the original. I'm going to give the same 4.5 for this. I enjoyed it just as much. This is a lot of fun. Donald Sutherland's amazing in this movie. I mean, he's amazing pretty much in everything he does, but this was great. I love seeing young Donald. The supporting cast is also really good. Brooke is amazing. Alien Woman is amazing. Jeff is amazing. Leonard Nimoy is great.
Get him, Mel.
I said Brooke. I don't know who the lady from Alien's name is. It's good. 4.5 stars. I love this movie, and I don't want to watch the ones that came after this. Now that I think about it, but yeah,
okay,
good time. 4.5 stars
from Danny. Proto, are you ready to reveal?
Yeah, I would like to say, this is October. This is horror month. We're all picking horrors. I'd like to personally thank Slim for picking this movie.
Thank you.
We all know. I mean, all of our episodes are 5 stars, but X was a little bit of a dud. We've all seen Scream before, but this movie, man, this is what I want to experience when I see a movie. It's just so engaging. There was just so much that was fascinating about it. So well acted. The practical effects were great. I just loved everything about this. I had such a good time. This is what I want from a movie. I give it 4 stars. I think there's like some things with like the plot that, I mean, it's science fiction, there's some weirdness that you just kind of have to accept. I mean, why can't we just have a spaceship sending these amoebas down into the planet? Like the fact that these things are floating through space just makes no sense.
They're spores.
So there's some like plot holes in this that are kind of like, you kind of have to just brush away. But this movie is so good. The ending, God.
Yeah.
What an ending. I just had so much fun with this. It's great.
Wow. What a delight to hear Proto give it a 4-star rating.
Feels good.
I am going to be 4.5 stars for myself. It probably would have been 5 if it was maybe like 90 minutes. Like there was the entire greenhouse blow up scene. I felt could have been maybe even totally cut out or just really shortened, way too long. But everything else after that, loved the atmosphere of this film, loved how it was shot. But yeah, it's just dynamite. This era of filmmaking is just tops for me.
Yes.
Just the dirtiness, the ADR, the bad audio they need to redo, the clothing, the driving through a city, and I just love this stuff. I love the timelessness of it. So I'm glad we all enjoyed it.
Okay. Thank you.
Next week, as we mentioned in a special bonus episode, an important announcement that came from VHS Village HQ. Next week, we will have 2 special guests. Dale _A makes his triumphant return to the show. Chuck Forsman is back. the host of the Bat and Spider podcast, to talk about The Fly, David Cronenberg, 1986. Part, how you feeling about going back into the Cronyverse for this movie?
I'm excited. I've heard good things, and having Dale, the Bat himself, and Chuck the Spider, or is it the other way around? I don't know. But the Bat and Spider themselves to talk about The Fly. Is there anything more perfect than that? I might not know what I'm talking about, but they sure do.
They do.
Don't forget to subscribe to their podcast. I'll have a link in the episode notes and on 70mmpod.com. That's next week. If you want to leave us a voicemail, 267-409-6983, 70mmpod@gmail.com. We do have a few voicemails to get to, so let's do that right now.
What's up, 70mm? It's Lex. Currently in the ICU, recovering from the wounds inflicted upon me by this most recent Patreon poll. First, we are denied the glory of Speed Racer, and now, through shady, underhanded electioneering, we are denied The Thing. It's truly tragic. Anyway, this week's movie is Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
He's gaining strength.
I'd always heard a lot of really great stuff about this movie over the years, and it really didn't disappoint. Donald Sutherland is a delight. The shot composition and camera work is mint, and especially in those later scenes, it really captures a haunting sense of claustrophobia and isolation in a city of millions. So, yeah, I'm going to have to give this one a nice 4-banger.
Oh,
Yes.
There it is.
wow.
Yes.
Seems like the morphine is kicking in, so I'm going to head off. Keep up the good work.
My God.
Bye.
God,
So good.
better. Get better, Lex.
You're in our prayers.
The production quality in the voicemails that we're getting are
This
through
is
the roof.
ridiculous.
It's insane. Next voicemail.
What's up, guys? It's Mike here. I just wanted to call in or leave a voicemail about this week's movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. What a film. I had originally rated this as a 2-star, and then I started talking about it with my wife, like explaining what I watched, because she's not interested in watching these kinds of movies. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, hey, you know what? I should bump that up to a 3-star. There's some stuff in this. The end of this movie really was like... really cool to me. I don't know how you guys felt. I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm sure the villagers, they all hate it. They're all going to hate me for this. Can't wait to be on the Discord live when this is happening. But no, I watched it and I really enjoyed it. I like, the more I think about it, I'm like, I'm never going to watch this again. I mean, Donald Sutherland being a flirtatious guy with that haircut, never. Not realistic at all. Can't watch it. But beyond that, I thought there was a lot of stuff that just clicked, and it was really insanely creepy. Waking up like after a night of sleeping, and your significant other like is the same person but not, like, what an awful thing. And beyond that, I mean, all of the flesh, skin, plants, that made me want to throw up. Looked like bad vomit that was at a Kentucky Fried Chicken and fell into the deep fryer. Like, I just couldn't do it. But that's what made this movie truly horrifying. And not something that's like, oh, this is going to terrify me for days, but it terrified me that night. And I think that that makes it a 3-star film. Like, what a good job of creeping me out. So anyways, I just wanted to say thanks for suggesting this. This is a great pick. I'd never seen it. I don't think I would have ever tried to watch it. So awesome job. I can't wait for the rest of October, where I'm probably going to be thoroughly scared out of my pants compared to the previous 2 films. So yeah, talk to you guys soon.
My goodness, Mike.
Voicemail, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Power of this film raising his rating on roll.
Talk about it. Talk to your loved ones about this movie.
Talk to your loved ones about 70mm. He mentioned the attractiveness of Donald Sutherland. I watched a movie that he was in 1973, Don't Look Now, and I had to look up my review because there's a very artsy sex scene in which his wife kisses his feet.
Excuse me.
Specifically his toe.
Which toe?
Big toe, I think.
Oh, my.
Yeah, they were both very nude. So if you're into Donald Sutherland, I highly recommend checking out that movie.
I was transfixed by his upper lip. Just the shape of his mustache with that upper lip, the way he could curl it upwards. It's
a good lip.
He was in full control of his upper lip.
Yeah.
Hey, 70 millimeter. It's your boy H. Had a great time watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers 78 today. The original from 1956 was an absolute favorite of mine as a little kid. And until today, I'd completely forgotten about one awesome scene from the remake. The scene with the running man who rants about being chased and is killed on the street.
They're coming! Help! Help! They're coming! They're coming! Listen to me! Listen! Help me! You're next, please! Please! You're next! We're in danger!
He was played by none other than actor Kevin McCarthy, who played the lead in the original version. And his scene from 1978 is even a direct callback to the ending of the original film.
Oh my God.
Spoilers. All the spoilers.
Super fun. The final shot from this movie stuck with me for years. One of the all-time greats. Keep up the good work, boys.
There's no other podcast that has the voicemail production quality of 70 millimeter. I defy you to find another one. Defy you. Thank you, H. Confirming the up in the air. We could not get confirmation of whether or not that was the same actor. But thank you, H. We have one more. I think this came into our Google Voice hotline, 267-409-6983.
Hello, 70 millimeter boys. This is Steven, active on the socials. Really enjoyed last week's Scream episode and appreciated the call out Danny made to Emperor's New Groove. That was a favorite of my kids when they were growing up. So I've probably seen it like 8 times or something, and completely agree that was David Spade's best work.
Thank you.
This week, covering Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. That movie terrified me when I was a kid. I saw it on TV maybe a year or so after it came out, and the whole thing just gave me goosebumps and nightmares, especially that part at the end, Donald Sutherland and the whatever that thing is he does. Ugh. Rewatched it this week and still had my innards in a tense knot the whole time. I think that's more from the jarring score than from the really hot chicken wings I'd eaten just before watching it. But sure, some of the effects are kind of hokey, but the idea of some beings coming from another world and taking over this one, and the scariest part for me is that the bad guys win. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed it. Look forward to hearing what you have to say about it, and keep up the great work. Thanks.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that in Steven's review where he specifically called out that, like, you know, we lose at the end of this. The bad guys win.
Right.
And still left an entertaining mark on the movie in general. Steven, thank you for the voicemail. Big show next week. Biggest show we've ever done. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Prop Month is just about wrapping up. It's going to be a big week next week. Proto, we're all happy that you gave it 4 stars, but do you have any closing pontifications?
Closing pontifications. Wow. You know, sometimes we get dealt duds. Sometimes we get dealt real bangers. But we always have our friends, no matter what, in the midst of whatever movie we're watching. So remember that. If you're watching, a 1 star, you're watching a 5 star. Here at 70 millimeter, you always have a friend to talk to about it.
Thanks everyone for hanging out. Thanks everyone for being in Discord tonight. Don't forget you can join our Discord at patreon.com/70mm. We'll see everybody next week. 70mm is a VHS Village production and produced by Dale_A. Sponsored by Half Double Design. Original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance provided by Protolexis. This episode was mixed and edited by me, Slim. You can support our Patreon for early access to episodes, discounts on prints, a physical membership card mailed to you, and receive an invite to our Discord to talk movies with other villagers. Special thanks to the good people at Letterboxd, and for a chance to win a pro Letterboxd account, share the show and tag us on social media at 70mmPod. Goodbye.